Srimad Bhagavatam 5:14-25. Kvachit cha shita vata adi aneka adhidaivika bhautika atmiyanam dashanam pratinivarane akalpah duranta chintaya vishannah आस्ते क्वचिच्छशीतवातादि अनेकाधिदैविक भौतिकात्मीयानां दशानां प्रतिनिवारणे कल्पो दुरन्तचिन्तया विषण्ण आस्ते क्वचित् sometimes cha also shita vata adi such as cold and strong wind aneka various adhidaivika created by the demigods bhautika adhibhautika created by other living beings atmiyanam adhyatmika created by the body and mind dashanam of conditions of misery pratinivarane in the counteracting akalpaha unable duranta very severe chintaya by anxieties vishanna morose aste he remains. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: being unable to protect himself from the threefold miseries of material existence, the conditioned soul becomes very morose and lives a life of lamentation. These threefold miseries are miseries suffered by mental calamity at the hands of the demigods, such as freezing wind and scorching heat, miseries offered by other living entities, and miseries arising from the mind and body themselves. Please repeat: being unable to protect himself from the threefold miseries of material existence, the conditioned soul becomes very morose and lives the life of lamentation. These threefold miseries are miseries suffered by mental calamity at the hands of the demigods, such as freezing wind and scorching heat, miseries offered by other living entities, and miseries arising from the mind and body themselves. Purport: the so-called happy materialistic person is constantly having to endure the threefold miseries of life called adhidaivika, adhyatmika, and adhibhautika. Actually, no one can counteract these threefold miseries. All three may assail one at one time, or one misery may be absent and the other present. Thus, the living entity is full of anxiety, fearing misery from one side or the other. The conditioned soul must be disturbed by at least one of these three miseries. There is no escape. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So the threefold miseries, this is called Tapatraya. Tapatraya means suffering. But actually, if you break it down, Tapatraya. Tapa means austerity. Right? When the initiative is by oneself. If I want to voluntarily undergo some inconvenience for the pleasure of the Lord, that is called tapodivyam. There are many types of tapasya. Materialistic tapasya are also there. Like some people fasted for independence of a country, Gandhi. So, and to achieve something, you have to sacrifice something else, right? So, no pain, no gain. So that pain, voluntarily accepting pain for some higher benefit is called tapasya. Now, tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet yasmat brahma saukhyam tu anantam. So, it is explained. Rishabdev. See how many times Prabhupada gave lecture on this. नायं देहो देह भाजां निर्लोके कष्टान् कामान् अर्हते विड्भुजां ये तपो दिव्यं पुत्रकायेन सत्वं शुद्धेद्यस्मात् ब्रह्म सौख्यं त्वनन्तम्. So he's saying that in the human form of life, we are not supposed to suffer the tribulations like stool-eating animals like dogs and hogs. Vidbhujam, vid means stool, and bhujam means one who eats. So kashtan kaman. Kashtan means the sufferings and kaman means the sense gratification that happens. So the miseries and happiness that are achieved in human life are non-different from those of the hogs and dogs. And so we should not waste our life simply like the dogs and hogs. What we should do? Tapo divyam. Tapaha means austerity. Divyam means for transcendental cause. For the sake of the Lord, we have to take inconvenience voluntarily. Putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet. Sattvam means, of course, goodness, but also sattvam means existence. Because if you see, mode of goodness is sustenance. Mode of ignorance is destruction. Mode of passion is creation. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. So sattvam is also, another meaning of sattvam is our existence itself. So sattvam shuddhyet. Our existence becomes purified by transcendental austerity, like fasting on Ekadashi, and on festival days, and waking up early in the morning. And not only these things, Actually, tapasya means what is being sacrificed. We should understand what we are sacrificing. When we are waking up in the morning, what are we sacrificing? Sleep. The gratification that we may get by sleeping is what we're sacrificing. Similarly, when we surrender our life to Krishna, what are we sacrificing? The materialistic endeavor, the urge to engage in materialistic endeavor for sense gratification, we are sacrificing that at the altar of devotional service. That means for the sake of devotional service, we are sacrificing something else, our materialistic propensities. So there is a nice explanation in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita about sacrifice. This is not really the subject of today's verse, but I'm going into this rabbit hole of tapasya because it is in contrast of tapatraya. Tapa means when I voluntarily engage in inconvenience for spiritual growth, right? So tapa means when such inconvenience is imposed upon me against my desire. Tapa, to cause to suffer. So that is called tapa, traya. So what are the causes of our suffering that is imposed on us, not voluntarily chosen? So that is tapatraya. So anyway, since we just spoke about tapasya, I'll go into it anyway. So you see, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. Now, a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So let's try to understand a little bit. Brahma Arpanam, you see, the contribution, whatever we give to Krishna, it may be material, like a fruit, for example. It may be material or food even. But when you give it to Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. So Brahma means spiritual. So the contribution, Brahma Arpanam, it is spiritualized. Brahma Havir, the butter in a yajna, this is in context of the yajna, fire sacrifice, the butter or the ghee that is offered, that is also spiritualized. In fact, in the fire sacrifice, the fire is actually considered the mouth of Vishnu, a tongue of Vishnu, the blazing tongue of Vishnu, and the yajna kunda is actually the mouth of Vishnu. We are basically feeding Vishnu, which we are doing by offering food also. It's a different way only. Offering food to the deity or throwing the grains directly into the fire or cooking the grains and offering the food to Krishna. It's the same thing. And the demigods are offered their share of the sacrifice after the yajna when they're doing karmakandiya rituals. They're offered, first is offered to Vishnu and then the share of prasadam is given to demigods and thus they are satisfied. So but in our case, we offer to Krishna and it's automatically all the demigods are satisfied anyway. Just like if we feed the stomach, all the body parts are satisfied. So like that. So anyway, Havir, Brahma Havir, the ghee is also spiritualized because it's offered to Krishna. Brahma Agnav, in the fire of consummation, because that fire is spiritual because it's the tongue of Lord Vishnu. So Brahma Agnav, Brahmana Utam. Brahmana means the spirit soul who's supposed to be, because we are Jivatma, right? Jivatma is only termed as Jivatma in this material world. In the spiritual world, it is called Brahma. What is that? 1854. Brahma Bhuta, yeah. Jiva Bhuta and Brahma Bhuta. So Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nashochati Nakankshati. samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. So Brahmana, by the spirit soul who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he is now Brahma Bhuta. Hutam, offered by the spirit soul, whatever is offered. He is also spiritual. He becomes spiritualized. When we offer something to Krishna, we also become spiritualized because we are serving Krishna. Brahma eva tena gantavyam. Gantavyam means destination, to be reached. Gantavya means destination. So Brahma eva tena gantavyam. So his destination also will be spiritual. Brahma karma samadhina. Brahma karma means spiritual activities in devotional service. So one who is engaged in devotional service and offering everything into the fire of consummation, and consummation means to make something complete. Unless it is offered to Krishna, it is not complete. Right? So to offer to Krishna, that is the consummation. So what are we sacrificing? Some grains, some butter, the Brahmana. He is also engaging his time and engaging his very activities in serving the Lord. So that is sacrifice, right? So that is the fire sacrifice, the literal fire sacrifice. Now, next few verses are interesting. So in other words, in summary, that verse means everything about Krishna is spiritual. Whatever is offered is spiritual. Krishna himself is spiritual. We are spiritualized when we offer to Krishna, and whatever is offered, everything becomes spiritualized. So now, next verse. Daivameva pare yajñam yoginah pariyupasate brahmagnava pare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Okay? So, karmakandis, jnanis, these are all mentioned. Now here, 26. Shrotraadinindriyanyanye samyam agnishu juhvati shabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juhvati. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. How to understand this? What is being spoken here? Out, right? Over the head. So sacrifice the hearing process. Shrotradinindriyanyanye samyam agnishu juhvati. Sabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juhvati. So now, what is the sacrifice of hearing process? Sacrificing hearing mundane subjects and engaging in the time in Krishna conscious, Krishna Katha, hearing Krishna Katha. In the senses, sacrificing the senses in the fire of mental control. So in the altar of mental control, at the altar, the senses and the hearing process are sacrificed. Sacrifice means give up the material aspect of it and engage in the spiritual aspect of it. It's not that we sacrifice our ears, we cut off our ears and throw into the fire. No. But cut off the materialistic hearing, engage in spiritual hearing. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. What does that mean? So, the regulated householders, they are given license to enjoy their senses in a regulated fashion. Regulated means control. Like, the gas cylinder, there's a regulator there. Unregulated burning means there is no valve, no nothing, and then some gas is just, fire touches the gas and everything explodes. That is uncontrolled. Now, controlled burning means there is a regulator, how much gas is being, the inlet, and everything is regulated, and also the cylinder is strong and sturdy, so it doesn't leak. So all these things, this is regulation. So it's allowed, fire is allowed, but under regulation, because too much of it, unregulated, dangerous. That's the whole point. Similarly, if sense gratification is not regulated, actually for the soul, there is no need for sense gratification. in its spiritual original nature, there's no need to gratify the senses. Like the Goswamis, they forgot eating, forgot sleeping, mating zero, defending, forget it. So, minimized their materialistic, bodily necessities. So, when we are not there, it is not supposed to be imitated, that stage, but we should instead engage in regulated sense gratification, and that is householder life. So, they have many objects of sense gratification. Everybody has, not that the brahmacharis are aloof from it. Everything is there. Objects of the sense. What is object of senses? Give me an example. Sense gratification is my desire to gratify my senses. What is the object of sense? Sense object. What is a sense object? Tongue is your sense. Huh? So for the tongue, it's food. For the eyes, form. For the tongue, is taste. Eyes, form. Skin is touch. And then ears, hearing. Subject matters to hear are objects of the senses. And what is the other one? Nose, smell. Different kinds of smells are objects of the senses. Sense of smell. So something which we are going to enjoy with the senses, that is the sense object. Okay. So sacrificing the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. That means take all those things, offer it to Krishna, say, for example, flower, and then I can smell it. Now, householders, for example, they have license for sex life. That also has to be controlled and offered to Krishna. In the fire of the senses means not extravagant, just regulation. So this is all explained very nicely in the purports actually. So brahmachari, grihastha, and then next sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagnau juhvati jnanadipite. See, others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. This is the yogis who offer, actually that will be explained later in the next verse also, where one is, if you see in the 6th chapter, Krishna explains how the yogi should go to the forest and engage himself, controlling his mind and senses, and offering the functions of all senses and of life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. How basically it means that by the controlled mind, we have to control our mind and senses and offer all those functions into meditating on the Supreme Lord in the heart. Dhyanavastita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yogina. So, you see, apana vayu and all this is yoga system. Dravya yajñas tapo yajña yoga yajñas tatha pare svadhyaya jnana yajñascha yatayah samshita vrataha. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. All these are considered sacrifices. Tapa, yajna. So for spiritual advancement, apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare prana panagati ruddhva pranayama parayanaha apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, this is the yogis again, practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So this is very technical in the yoga process, how they control their breath. सर्वे प्येते यज्ञविदो यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. So Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. So accordingly, wherever they are, in whichever stage of advancement they are, they may engage in relevant sacrificial performances. Now, if you see, एवं बहुविधा यज्ञा वितता ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान् विद्धितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Okay, so this is the one. श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद् यज्ञा ज्ञान यज्ञः परन्तप सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So all our sacrifices and penances should lead us to transcendental knowledge, otherwise we are wasting time. Transcendental knowledge is Krishna consciousness knowledge. And the next verse is Tattvavit pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. One has to go to the spiritual master to get this knowledge. So in this way, the sequence is there. So anyway, these are yajnas, or sacrifices. So tapa means voluntarily engaging in these sacrifices for one's own advancement. Tapa means imposed difficulties. Tapatraya, suffering is called tapatraya. Even in Telugu that word is there. Everywhere, there's Hindi everywhere. I don't know Tamil. Tamil is a different kind of language. So they will say, why are you undergoing so much tapatraya? They will say, just like in a colloquial sense. So actually tapatraya means, traya means three, tapa means sufferings. Three types of sufferings, adhyatmic, adhibhautik, adhidaivik sufferings. Basically sufferings caused by different causes, either my own body and mind, or other living entities, or by the devatas, such as natural calamities. So Krishna certified this material world as Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Right? 8:15. Dukhalayam Ashashvatam means it's an abode of misery and it's temporary. Dukhalayam. What are the dukhas? What are the dukhas? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukha, doshanu, darshanam. What is that? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukha, doshanu, darshanam. So these are the cardinal miseries of material life. But then, interspersed between them, because Janma is only during birth, finished, birth is finished, that misery is finished, we don't even remember, well and good. Fine, only 3 more in my life. Mrityu will come one day, okay, that is far distant away, which I think is always distant. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti hayamalayam. Tesha sthavaram ichanti kimascharya matah param. Every day people are dying, but those who live, they think they will never die. So we think, okay, birth is done, finished, nothing to worry about. Death is, it will come one day, and after that I won't remember anything anyway. So 2 things basically are, we can forget about. Just jara, old age, that will come when I am old, now I am young and hale and hearty. Vyadhi, sickness, sometimes I'll have sickness, maybe I'll just pop in a pill and that's it. Otherwise, life is good. But then, interspersed between all these so-called few and far between miseries are adhyatmic, adhibhautik and adhidevik. Fill in the blanks. They fill in the blanks for the rest of the life. every single moment, as today's purport says, one has to undergo these three, either one or two or all three at the same time. Dashanam, you see, today's verse. शीतवातादि अनेक अधिदैविक अधिभौतिक आत्मीयानाम dashanam. This dasha, people say, oh, I have Shani dasha, I have Rahu dasha. Dasha means the time period. So dashanam, or the stage in which we are, what we are going through. So that is dasha. So dasha, we are always in either adhibhautik, adhyatmik or adhidaivik dasha, tapatraya dasha. We think, when when Shani is there will be some malefic influence, and when there's Rahu and Ketu, there will be some malefic influence, and something like this. And other times will be okay. We think like this. But no. In fact, Shani, Rahu, Ketu, they will be very helpful if we are spiritually inclined. In fact, that is their job, to make us lose hope in the material world. When something goes, bad and we have difficulties, then we start to question about life. What is life? So it is meant for that. Otherwise, we won't question. Everything is nice and rosy. So we won't question. And one day we will just die. So to be aware of the danger is better to be not aware of the danger. Or to be aware of the danger is better than to be blissfully unaware. Because when we are aware, we are of course in more anxiety than when we are not aware. Right? If I know there is a danger, then I'll be in anxiety. If I did not know the danger was there, I would not be in anxiety. So the materialist who does not have an idea about next life and all this, he thinks that anyway life is only once. You only live once. They say YOLO. 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 You only live once. They call it YOLO. So in this YOLO philosophy, actually, spiritually speaking, you only live once. Because you never die. You never took birth. So spiritually, yes. But materially, it is wrong. In this body, no. So for those people who think there is no next life, they think it is better to be unaware of the danger of death and rather be happy till the last moment and then just die one stroke and then finish. You don't even know you died. You finish. Life has ended. Which is better than always be cautious and anxious about death, and one day anyway you're going to die, whether you're anxious or not. So why to be anxious when I can remain without anxiety? So the problem is, in fact, their understanding is also wrong. The thing is, we are not anxious about, oh, I'm going to die. No, we can do nothing about it. Exam is only a stepping stone for the next stage. When we say final exam, it's not the end of life. It sounds like it, final exam, like final last. But it's just the final exam for this term. But that your results in that exam will determine your future, where you go next. Good grades, better college, better whatever, better facilities, note, and scholarship maybe even, all that kind of things. And if I don't have good grades, then I have to slog, I have to suffer, like that. So, exam. So the final exam. So what we are anxious about is whether I'm prepared enough to pass the exam. That is the real anxiety. To be aware, first of all, not to be blissfully unaware of that exam of death. And also we should know how to be prepared for it. And what is the preparation? Not that death comes, I know how to defend it and live more, longer. No. Die the proper way. Preparation for the exam does not mean to evade the exam. Preparation to exam means to actually go through it and pass on the other side, come out with flying colors. So, similarly, preparation for death means to come out on the other side successful. And Krishna defines what is that success. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram tam tam evaitu madbhavam yate nastyatra samshayah. Yah prayati samadbhavam yate nastyatra samshayah. So one who thinks of Krishna at the time of death, he goes back to Krishna. And the next verse, 8.6, 8.5, previous verse. Now 8.6, it says, Krishna says, whatever you think of at the time of death, that you will become next life without fail. And that thinking of at the time of death depends on what we think during the life. So, I should think of Krishna, then I will pass the exam. So in order to do that, there are these miseries that will make us at least question. Forget about thinking about Krishna, I'm not even questioning about what is my life, who is God. Such dire states of forgetfulness we are in, that it is very dangerous life we are living if we do not become Krishna conscious. So Shita Vatadi Aneka, so cold, heat, natural disasters, everything. This is Tapatraya, sufferings caused by the demigods. It's not that the demigods only cause suffering, they also give facility. Like if there is no sunlight, we cannot live. But sometimes, it's too hot for comfort, or sometimes too cold for our comfort. So in this way, what we waste our time in, pratinivarane akalpah duranta chintaya. So there are sufferings, and the entire lifetime is spent counteracting those sufferings. Especially when I came back from Russia, when we went to Russia, we went in summer, so it was all not cold. Very nice, pleasant weather. But, during summer, what they do? Summer lasts very short time, 3-4 months. In those 3-4 months, they will repair all those pipelines for the winter. And huge pipelines everywhere, running everywhere. What are those pipelines? Hot water pipelines. And there is a huge apparatus for boiling water and sending it to each and every home, pipelines for that. And if it is not done every day, they will freeze. One Mataji, she was telling us that she took a holiday from her city in St. Petersburg. From there, she took a holiday. She lives on the outskirts of St. Petersburg. So her house is actually not made for winter, not suitable for winter. They have to take extra measures to be able to live in that house. So they went for a holiday to our New Vrindavan farm community near Rajendranandan Prabhu's place, very far, thousands of kilometers. And for 2 weeks they went. When they came back, the water in the pipe was all frozen. They had to get the city authorities to come and break the pipes and fit new pipes and redo the whole connection. So see how much suffering that is. And there's huge arrangement for taking out the snow from the road in those seasons. The whole road becomes snow capped. So they put water and salt, warm water and salt, and they spray with these big vehicles they have, spray everything, and then the road becomes again black like that. And many cars slip. It's just during winter, it's they have to wear so many clothes and everything. And during summer, they're just preparing for the winter. Whole life, whole year, huge expenditure for the government to just keep that intact, to be able to live in such places. So, you see, this is called pratinivarane. Just one example, you see, in the counteracting, pratinivarane akalpa, duranta chintaya, severe anxieties. Duranta means, anta means end, duranta means very bad end, very hardly have an end, unstopping, continuous. And if it, they at all have, they have a bad ending. So it's very severe. Duranta chintaya. So anxieties, vishanna aste, he's always morose. So we are always, our whole lifetimes are spent in counteracting only. Imagine, we are going work, coming back, all this to just counteract the death. As much as materialist does not want to speak about death, his life is driven by death. If you really analyze and observe, why do I say that? Because you see, every day he's working. If he doesn't work, he will not have food, he will die. So that death is driving his life. Of course, there unnecessary things get piled up on top of that, but at the core, he is fighting death. Even if he is rich, there may be disease, or he has insurance, he has this and that. He's just fighting death all the time. And he tries to live in a safe country where there is more security. That is fighting death. Gets regular health checkups done, fighting death. And, he dyes his hair, fighting death. Although all these are useless in fighting death. But the endeavor is to fight death. That drives his entire life. His entire life is spent on how to fight death. And that death he will never escape. But he tries to give it different meaning, different names and different nice sounding words. Oh, I'm having a career. Unpack that word, fighting death. It's survival. It's a struggle for existence. Karshati, Krishna has described in 15th chapter 7th verse. Manah shashthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati mamayvamcho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Struggle, it's a struggle. Everybody is struggling for existence. We just want to give it nice names. Oh, I'm studying, I'm topper. Why are you striving for excellence? For what? So to have food on the plate. That's it. No, live a comfortable life. What is comfort? So that you escape from the miserable life. Live in a nicer apartment, It's all just counteracting the miserable conditions of material existence. So if we analyze everything like this, we will see that it is everywhere. This adhyatmic, adhibhautik, adhidaivik miseries are everywhere. And the entire endeavor is to counteract these miseries. And he is miserable in that. He is morose. So this is life. This is material life. What is the point of having a car when all I do with the car is just to maintain the car? Is the purpose of the car to maintain the car? No. But that's what we do with our bodies. The entire purpose of the body becomes just to maintain the body. So, in the face of it, it looks very foolish itself. So we should know what the purpose of the car of this material body is, because this material body is like a car. Yantra arudhani maya. Arudhani means mounted. We have mounted this yantra of the body, this machine. The body is working nicely, but what is the purpose of it? That we have to determine. The purpose is to become Krishna conscious and end this for good. End this once and for all, this cycle of birth and death. That is the only purpose of human life. So if we miss that and just spend a lifetime of counteracting the life itself, counteracting the miseries of lifetime, and it's just a waste of time. So our this counteraction should be minimized, and therefore sages, although they were very highly equipped and um, capable, they never constructed big size skyscrapers and invented new ways to go to the Mars, or let's just make rockets and then bring them back to Earth. And Krishna already said, Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punyam martyalokam vishanti. People go to higher planets and come back to this mortal world again. When Elon Musk did it, when the rocket came back and was caught by the chopsticks, as he says it, oh, what a wonderful sci-fi movie, we are living in the future and all that. But as much brain as it takes, it's actually a misuse of the brain. I think he's the smartest guy on the planet, but he's not. Because it does, yes, it is a great feat of engineering. No one is debating that. To make something go like that and come back. They said it's 9 million lines of code and so many things they were talking about. The rocket which came back recently? Did you see it? Wow, good for you. Elon Musk, he fired a rocket and then came back. Of course, he did it before with landing, with the landing pods, but this is much heavier, this rocket. So he caught it with a big tower, and then it landed like that without touching the ground. So, this is like in the future, and everybody was like praising him so much, and even now he's being praised. Now, yes, that takes a lot of engineering. It's an engineering marvel, no doubt. But is it a good use of the human brain is what we need to ask. Is it a good use of the human brain? What are we trying to achieve? You know what they say? We need these things because we need to launch rockets, we need to make internet available, we need to have payloads of satellites and put them in the sky and then come back with the same rocket and reuse the rocket, so that will be saving money. So that we can have more satellites, we can have our internet cheaper, we can have our amenities cheaper. For what? In the end, for what? We are creating layers and layers of complexity. To solve one problem, we are doing another thing, and to solve that problem, we are doing another thing. You see, now electricity is a non-negotiable for everyone. It has become like that because we are becoming dependent on it. Actually, life doesn't depend on electricity. In fact, if you touch electricity, you will die, get a shock and die. But why the electricity is required? To keep things that we think are necessary. Life went on without electricity for millions of years. There's no problem. People lived. They knew how to construct buildings so that it's cool even on a hot day. They knew how to do that. And just made it simple. People mistake it for being, when they say primitive, automatically it is backward. But it does not have to be. The movement of time does not always mean advancement. We can go backwards also. We can go less advanced with the progress of time. That can happen very well. Not that everything that is old is always not sophisticated and it's not nice. No. At the same time, of course, we are not romanticizing some ancient times and we want to go back there. No. Whatever is there, we'll use, of course, in Krishna's service and get on with our life. But if we just impartially observe, people used to just have land, they till the land, grow some vegetables and grains, whatever. And if they don't have, they will exchange barter system with other people who are growing different crops, and they can have food and eat and finish. And then even to find, for example, marriage, how they will find a match within known circles, wherever, mostly within the same village or city, or maybe at most neighboring somewhere. There's no need for anything more than that, actually. There's no real need for globalization. There's no real need. With transport systems, with faster transport systems, what happens? The person has to go now 300 kilometers to work and come back. Yeah. Whereas he used to have his workplace right outside his doorstep, the field, and he will just have some cows, have a field, grow his crops like that. So instead of directly dealing with our necessities, we are creating layers. Oh, we need to have food, but we don't have farm. We have a huge transport system, logistics, where food will come from different parts of the world, and that transport system depends on oil and money, gold, whatever, and to keep the whole thing running. And yes, we need to have huge railway lines laid out, airports, and the engineering of the planes, everything, and then cars, roadways, construction of roadways, fuel, everything is needed, all these layered one on top of the other. And we need energy for all these things to run everything, and therefore energy is now a non-negotiable. And to maintain energy, we need to have cheaper energy, we have this and that, and then we are doing all these things. Sometimes the environment gets compromised. Okay, then find out some other thing. Hey, to solve one problem, we are creating another problem. To solve that problem, we're creating another problem. And we are never getting to the core of it. And at the end, now today, you see, most of us do not know how things are even grown. We don't know how to grow rice. If we are left on a land, we don't know what to do. We don't know which plant does what. We may eat something and die. We don't even know what to do. We are so out of touch. And everything we think is from the supermarket. That's it. Where to get apple? Supermarket. Where to get guava? Supermarket also. Where to get rice? Supermarket. Supermarket is the source. So these are, moving farther and farther away from primary necessities. Unnecessary, anarthas. These are anarthas. Means not required, but simply accepting as if they are non-negotiables in life. So Prabhupada said only the devotees, they can use all these things properly. When there is transport system, yes, devotees are allowed to go and preach. Only devotees. Prabhupada said nobody should use the planes actually, only devotees should use. Big businessmen are having their own planes. We should have our own ISKM Airways like this. Only devotees go around and preach. Prabhupada wanted like that we should have our everything, even planes. Why only cars? Why temples should have only cars? Our operation should become that big that it should have everything. But nothing should be used for our sense gratification. Absolutely nothing. For Krishna, everything. That's why, but if you see, that is not sustainable in modern context. Because if you want to fly, if you want to have all these aircraft, unless there is enough business, it is not cheap enough. So it depends on mass consumerism. Like if you want to have a phone or something, and if you want to have social media, unless people are advertising on that, you can't have your free communication with others that you're having. So it is dependent on all these things. So this is what happens when we have a rajasic way of technology. But when we have a sattvic way of technology, like how Sanjaya saw the battlefield, he had this whole experience of the Kurukshetra battlefield, and he was narrating it to Dhritarashtra. So only the qualified people had these powers. Kardama Muni, he could easily create an aeroplane and go all over the universe, but he was in the forest. But imagine constructing something Elon Musk is doing now, billionaire, he's constructing some spacecraft to go to Mars, something like this. But that also he will fail. He cannot really enjoy anything there. But you see how it is so difficult. Whereas Kardama Muni simply did it, and he went to joyrides with his wife for 100 years. In a plane which is going to different planets, different gardens, he enjoyed like that. Such power they used to have. But he was qualified to have. Ordinary people did not have such power. So that was the proper civilization where actual people, qualified people, had the power, access to all this technology, mystic power. Now everybody has, and it becomes noise. For us to have this live stream going on, we need to depend on people having all the social media and then the servers. We have to depend on these. You know, otherwise we cannot stream live. We don't have the power to stream live, like what Sanjay saw. So anyway, so now we are existing however we can in this world, but we have to use our. If we become Krishna conscious, and if we make more and more people Krishna conscious, even if people use these things, it doesn't matter then, because then people will become automatically mindful of the environment and everything, and they'll use it for the proper usage. I mean, if you do yajnas every time, all the time, big yajnas, you're also going to have smoke, right? But nobody complain about pollution then, because although smoke is there, it's not for pollution, because how much even forest fires happen, but things get adjusted. Krishna's systems are so Om Purnamada Purnamidam, that verse, everything is complete. So they will have the self-regulating mechanisms, whole ecosystem. So Krishna has designed everything perfectly. So nothing will really upset the balance. The only reason why the balance is upset is when we become godless. When we become godless, yes, then it will happen. Now you see this industrialization, it's just godlessness. So on top of the already existing tapatrayas, we are increasing the number of adhibhautik miseries. Miseries caused by other living entities, like our governments or whatever, creating dangerous situations and trying to create counteractions, and those creating more dangerous situations. You see, the government, for example, encourages eating meat. There is wide facility for eating meat. So that is a dangerous situation, unnecessarily bringing out, and then there will be suffering after that. So therefore, we have to have a proper understanding of what life is, and then minimize these things as far as possible and use them in only Krishna's service. Then one is not implicated in these sufferings, and whatever we use becomes spiritualized and a source of joy for everyone. So, with that, I would like to stop. Any questions or comments on this topic? So here, there's one comment. In other words, one should care for the material body in such a way that one's higher knowledge is not destroyed, and so that one's speech and mind are not deviated from self-realization. 11.7.39. What is catharsis? There's one comment here. Heard this word before, but forgot about it. The process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong or repressed emotions. Music is a means of catharsis for them. Okay, so that's what is being alluded to. So the comment is, I think so that social media is very useful for catharsis. We can live vicariously and pacify materialistic desires without actually doing anything. So vicariously means secondhand. Like, I can't enjoy it, but I see others enjoying it, and then I have secondhand enjoyment. People say secondhand embarrassment. Have you heard of it? Somebody does something so embarrassing that you feel embarrassed for that person. It's nothing to do with you, but your secondhand embarrassment. So this is called vicarious embarrassment. So it's saying that we can live vicariously and pacify materialistic desires without actually doing anything. And that's kind of catharsis for people. But this is not catharsis. This is no relief at all. Just by enjoying others doing something, second-hand sense gratification, like they are enjoying some food and you are just looking at it and you are enjoying it. Not really, but you like seeing it. Otherwise, why people watch things? The other guy is doing something. What am I going to get? Like, sports are perfect examples. Some team wins, football or cricket or whatever. Yes, yes, yes. What did you win? What did you win? Why are you pumping your fist? You lost your time, lost your money for the YouTube subscription or whatever subscription, and then wasted your time. At least the football players or cricket players, they earned millions of dollars by playing. They were more productive with their playing. And I paid for them with my whatever little way, buying tickets or whatever. So we are losing, but a second-hand victory, second-hand happiness. I am winning. Yeah, movie star is even worse. That guy is not even enjoying. He is making a show. He is suffering doing the show because it's not easy. And there is a meaningless thing he is doing. And then we are enjoying that. You see how much waste of time devices we have created, industries, billion, trillion dollar industries we have created to waste time. All these are just distractions from the real aim of life. So, as much as the spotlight is on them, we should not be carried away. Oh, they are not VIPs, for example. Oh, those who are film stars, they are, rich and famous, and therefore they are VIPs, important people of the country or the world. Not at all. Not at all. Sports. Famous people are not important people. They don't do nothing important. They don't do anything important at all. Those people are important who actually are Vaishnavas because they work for everyone's benefit. Only they can really work for everyone's benefit. Others may provide some temporary relief, but permanent happiness, permanent solution for all problems, only Vaishnavas can do. So they are the most important people. I always tell this. I mean, when you go to the airport, there is, for the check-in counters, there is the first class, business class, and then the economy class. Make you feel good, you're economy class, but actually you're a third class for them. This is the first class, this is second class. But if you say second class, the guy will get angry. Business class, that's business class. Oh, you're a businessman, you're a tip-top, high flyer. The other guy, well, you're economical, you're judiciously using your money and buying a cheap ticket and going. Actually, you're a third class customer for us. Okay, we will let you go. Sit down, one cramped up seat we will give you. And the second class guy will have little bit leg room, stretch his leg a little bit. Second class. First class he will have whiskey, something like this. Some additional perk. Maybe he can take a shower. I mean, so first, second, third class are just on financial capability. Otherwise, you are. So, but actually, the real first class person, the real term, the real way, the first class people are the Vaishnavas. They should be given first preference everywhere. Yeah, they should be given first preference. None of the laws should apply to the Vaishnavas. Actually, there is there in the Prithu Maharaj ruling. He used to, rule with what is that? For a lack of a better word, an iron fist. It was something else. It was mentioned that he used to rule very strictly, but such rules did not apply for Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. They are free to move. They don't require to apply for visas to go into. All this should be not there for the devotees who are preaching. They should be given all free pass and everything. They have economic corridors. Like that, they have to have spiritual corridors between countries to allow the devotees to preach. That is the stage to which civilization has to come. For people to understand that, for governments to understand that, we have to preach. We have to get to that where everybody understands what is actually valuable in life. Then we will know who are valuable in life. Alright, so I'll stop it here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद।